Peace and wellness to the family. Peace and wellness to the family. I want to say, start off with gratitude. Grateful for the day. Grateful to be here with y'all today. Grateful to be able to speak. Be able to just share my thoughts, share my philosophies, and engage with y'all. Appreciate everybody that's been, paying attention to the dialogue and tuning into the page. You know what I'm saying? Tuning into my channel and subscribing. Everybody that's been, all my clients that's been working with me on the holistic tip and on the discipline coaching and the holistic coaching, along with the herbal therapy and medicine with the self-disciplinary science. I'm grateful for y'all. I'm just grateful to be in this 3D way of existence. I'm grateful for it. I'm grateful for my kids, grateful to be able to have spent some good quality time with my son yesterday. He had been out of town with his aunt for like a week because his mother went out of town. And it was it was a blessing to be able to spend that time with him and to love on each other and just to see each other and to pour into each other, for me to pour into him as a father and just getting better with my fatherhood and just trying to be a better version of a father every day along with myself. But I put emphasis on the father because I didn't have a father exemplar in my life to be able to go by any protocol. So I'm trying to kind of figure this thing out by myself for a while now, being a young father. But what I wanted to talk about today is becoming your own self-sanctuary. And this is a philosophy that I've been working on within myself for a while. We're going down the inward path and on my self-discovery journey is becoming the self-sanctuary and being able to find peace within yourself and asylum within yourself and not seek it on the outside, but be able to go within and find it within you. And that takes a certain level of emotional ascension. And what I mean by emotional ascension is you rising above, letting your feelings control you and your thoughts and your feelings becoming one. So if you can control your thoughts and regulate your thoughts, then your feelings will follow, and vice versa. If you can learn to regulate your emotions and be able, in the times when you're the most passionate, passion drives us to action. So if you're passionate about something and somebody violates you in a certain way and you're passionate about, let's say you're passionate about hip hop and you feel like somebody's a culture vulture. In my case, I get very upset about that. So I have to be able to regulate my emotions to still stay in a state of peace, in a state of harmony, to be able to talk to them or to be able to talk about the issue in a peaceful, professional way. If not, then I'm defeating the whole purpose of my journey and I'm getting outside of finding the answers and finding the solution, but being more part of the problem. So becoming your own self-sanctuary has a lot to do with your emotional ascension, you rising above and be able to see it from a bird's eye view, looking down, coming outside of yourself, coming outside of your body, coming outside of your egotism and saying, hey, look, nah, I'm gonna look at it from this view, and also I'm gonna look at it from my good attributes of self. I'm gonna get outside of my feelings of disappointment, my feelings of anger, and my feelings of enrage, and see it from a way of the other side of polarity. This goes back to the law of polarity. It's two sides to every coin. It's good and the bad, hot and the cold, right? That's the universal law. Sometimes we have to see the process go through, and you becoming your own self-sanctuary it coincides with the law of polarity and something that I wanted to talk to y'all about called the Nova effect. The Nova effect is very interesting because what happens in the Nova effect is, let me give you an example. It was a time in my life where I was at the bottom of the bottom. I was in a penitentiary. And while I was locked up, I actually took the time to improve myself. I locked in on what I could do to self-improve for personal growth. I read a lot. I stayed to myself a lot, but I attracted those people to me that needed to gravitate towards me. That was purposeful. because of how I lived, while I was in there, and the regimen that I put myself on. The people that gravitated to me saw that in me. They saw how I moved, and they moved similar, so we connected. So while I was in penitentiary, I ended up taking a lead spiritual position in the Moorish Science Temple as a Grand Sheikh. Now, at the time, I did the position, I didn't think I was really ready, but it kind of fell into my lap, and brothers needed guidance, and they needed somebody to step into a leadership position, so I took it. And I got very good at illustrating and writing up illustrations and going by the bylaws and learning about all the different sciences and the history behind Noble Drew Ali. And for the most part, being able to be an example and a guide for the brothers that was looking for that in the Moorish Science Temple, in the Moors, that wanted to proclaim their nationality moving forward in life, and learning about jurisdiction and how to move outside when we get outside of the dismal crypt, when we get inside of the world. So I got good at illustrating and speaking. I got really good at being able to feel comfortable with speaking in front of crowds and being able to impact my fellow brothers as I did speak, and them be able to convey my message and communicate it in a way that they can understand me. So I began to get really comfortable in a state of comfortability, and I was able to translate it in a way that they can really feel it. And I could tell that because they would come to me afterwards, and we would take notes, and we would build on what was talked about. And I got to looking forward to the lessons that I would put together about different topics that I feel like that could help us and guide us when we got outside of the camp, when we got outside of prison. And on a release date, we will be prepared spiritually and mentally to be able to move forward in life, to be able to transition smoothly back into society. So when I was speaking, I didn't realize that I was being prepared. I was really just in the now of being prepared for what I had to do for the brothers inside behind the wall. So with the Nova effect is something disastrous happening in your life, something negative, but you see it play out, and it actually turns out to be something that could be very impactful and positive in your life. But in life, you just have to let it play out to be able to see. Because within that negative, it could be something so positive that you had to go through the negative to find out what that was. If you didn't go through the calamity, you would never get to see the life-changing or the life-saving scenario within that calamity or within that chaos of your life. So when I was at the bottom of the bottom in prison speaking, I got out, and I didn't really think much about it. I was trying to find my way with transitioning back into society. Fast forward into now, and that was a time I was going through a lot. I was down and depressed when I was in prison. I was going through a lot in my mind, not understanding what I was going to do when I got out. A lot of emotional alchemy, a lot of things, a lot of self-doubt. You know, to be honest, I had to learn how to rise above that later on, which brought me onto this journey now. And that was how the Nova effect really played a part in my life from that one stage. So going to the next stage, now fast forward, I published a book when I got out called Hip Hop in My Soul. It was my first publication, and I got an opportunity to speak at William Peace College, and it came out of nowhere. I didn't. It was an opportunity that came that I had to write a piece to Dr. Reed. Shout out to Dr. Stephanie Reed. And the piece that I wrote through email, she really enjoyed it, and she chose me to speak. Now, I'm thinking in my mind that I had never spoke before. But in all actuality, when I was at my lowest of lowest in life, I was speaking and I was impacting people when I was in penitentiary. So I got to William Peace, and I spoke on how hip-hop can affect young black males in academia. And I nailed it. I actually used one of my battles that I would do. I broke down some battle bars. I broke down how I was mentoring young kids in the urban communities, and how hip-hop helped them. And this is actually a young kid, I'll never forget him. His brother passed away, and he was autistic, but he actually could remember every lyric in the verse that he wrote about his brother. And he spit it with passion and so much emotion, but he was autistic. He couldn't remember a paragraph out of a book, but he could remember the lyrics of the song that he wrote dedicated to his brother that passed away. And I shared that with them on how hip hop can help black males express their emotions, and it can lead over into different learning and thought patterns to be able to learn faster, quicker, and more efficiently. So I spoke on this, but when I first got up on the panel to speak, I kind of went blank. I wasn't going to speak about the mentoring, but I was looking out to the crowd of William Peace and those students, and suddenly I got a vision of all of them having prison suits on. I'll never forget it. All of them had prison suits on. And I said, okay, now's the time just to come from the heart. And when I started opening up my heart chakra, I started speaking on the mentoring I was doing with the young man that really touched me, and I shared that with them. But my vision was when I was all of those students at William Peace had on prison suits. When I was at that lowest chaotic calamity in my life, when I was in the penitentiary, I went back to that vision because that's where I felt the most comfortable when I was speaking. That's the Nova effect. So the actual negative and the lowest point of my life, where I was actually being prepared for a climax in life, to where I did so well that actual formally educated people and doctors came up to me and told me how well that I spoke. They wanted to keep in contact with me. They wanted me to come speak in other different places. And this catapulted me and my brand into different opportunities and stages in my life that I could never even imagine. This was before I was even an entrepreneur that I knew then, But this catapulted me and pushed me into different ways of what I'm doing in my life now as an entrepreneur, as in herbal education, as a creative, as an author, So the Nova effect is you going through the process of the negative and the positive, because the negative could bring you into something that's so impactful that it could change your life forever. But you're not looking at it in that way of such where you're going through it, because it's not. It feels like you're spiraling, but you have to spiral to come back up into that beautiful phoenix and to find yourself like, wow, if I would have never went through that negative point in my life, I would never get here. I would have never gotten here. That's the Nova effect. Give you another example. Let's say you're in a car, you're in a bad car wreck, you get hurt real bad, but you recover. But within that recovery stage, let's say you have to learn how to walk again. Let's say you have to learn how to somehow, like, maybe even talk again. You're seriously injured, but you're going through this process of recovery and rehabilitation, and you're getting better. But within that process, they come in your room and they say, it's a good thing that you got in this car wreck. And you're looking at them like, what? What do you mean? Like, and they show you this X-ray, this MRI, and you have a tumor in your brain. We would have never been able to find this tumor in your brain. Now we have to go into emergency surgery because we have to get this out now, because we can get it out now. But if we would have caught this any minute later, you might not be here talking to us right now. So in order for them to find that tumor, you had to go through this great tragedy for them to find this tumor within your brain. But if you did not go through that tragedy, they would have not been able to find the tumor, and you would have passed away. This is the Nova effect. This is why on the law of polarity, we have to be prepared to go through the process of the positive and the negative and the positive. It's always two sides to the coin. This is the universal law of polarity. So I'm saying this to say, guys, the self-sanctuary is the key. Going within, finding the inner peace, releasing the thoughts through meditation, and keeping the ones that are beneficial to you in life. That's what meditation is about. If you're having trouble meditation, it's okay. Embrace it. If you can't stop the mental chatter when you're going into meditation, it's okay. Embrace it. It's not about you having a clear mind. It's about transforming your thoughts rather than letting them go. It's about learning which ones to keep and which ones to release. So if you're coming in with a lot of mental chatter, it's okay. It's fine. Just channel in on which ones to keep and channel in on what ones to release. And that is what the real definition and reason for meditation is. Always understand that everything is and isn't at the same time. The self-sanctuary is a place of peace within that we have to find through emotional ascension. We have to find through self-values. What do you find the most valuable about yourself? What do you find yourself talking about the most? What is a profound moment in your life? Go back there. Find your sanctuary within your innermost self and then stay there. Stay there to the point where you can see it and visualize it in your head, and you can laugh about it. You can cry tears of joy about it. You can feel it in your heart. You can see it in your mind. Create the self-sanctuary, understanding the Nova effect and the law of polarity, going through the process of both sides of the coin, understanding through that process it may be a negative, but that negative may need for you to go through it, that tragedy, in order for you to get to the most impactful thing that ever happened to you in life. The most prosperous thing that ever happened to you in life. You had to go through this. Or the most detrimental. If you didn't go through this, if you didn't go through that situation or that car wreck, they wouldn't have been able to find that cancer. They wouldn't have been able to find that tumor. You had no idea it was there. But with you going through that tragedy, you going through that calamity, they found it. Maybe you were walking your dog and you didn't tie your dog up right and he ran away. You're down about it and you can't find him. It's been days. You posting up posters about it. And then one day you get a knock at the door and this is beautiful woman. And she says, "Is this your dog? I saw him walking along the lake there. And I saw the poster and I came to this address to return him to you." And that ends up being your wife. Now, this is the Nova effect. This is the Nova effect. I want y'all to think about this. I'm so grateful to be over here to talk to y'all about these things that have been on my heart. I've been going through some really deep abandonment issues lately within myself and own self-discovery journey within people coming into my life and leaving. Why is that? Why am I attracting people that are coming into my life and leaving? The women that I love the most are long distance. My mom lives so far away. I get into deep thought about why that is. Am I the reason? The self-guilt, the doubt. Then I have to breathe and release and go within myself, back into myself, inward, on the inward path to find the answers. Because I am the asylum. I am the self-sanctuary. I talk to myself, through myself, by way of the superconsciousness, the Almighty, Allah, or whatever the creator, all the beautiful names belong to the superconsciousness for the answers, and they're always revealed by way of me becoming the self-sanctuary, finding the inner peace, understanding the releasal of the self-doubt, the releasal of the negative thoughts, and embracing and going through the process. I hope this helps somebody. I hope that this can bring you into an internal, harmonious, blissful peace. And understanding your own thought patterns, being able to control your neurotransmitters by way of cleaning up your diet, by way of meditation, by way of understanding what you're consuming, not just food, but what you're looking at, the TV, the conversations, inferior ways of action, behaviors, environments. I hope this helps you. I hope this helps you. We're coming into a time that our minds will have to be protected. We're also coming into times where we can use AI and other things to our advantage to bring us into a higher level of productivity and being more efficient. So I hope for those that are truly brave enough to go on this inward path, that this helps you. Peace and blessings to the family. And also make sure you visit the website, www.mysupremewellbeing.com. Sign up on my newsletters to get updates and also join my group on Facebook, Supreme Wellbeing CMOS Challenge Group. I will leave the link in my description. Peace and blessings to the family.